Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're taking a look at how social media has influenced the way people around the world see Japan, and how it can sometimes lead to some pretty big misconceptions. Way back when, folks like Lafcadio Hearn, one of New Orleans' deepest connections to Japan, helped introduce Japan to the English-speaking world through books and articles. But as technology evolved, so did the way people learned about Japan, through movies, anime, and now digital content. These days, social media plays a major role. From travel vlogs to quick-hit TikToks, Japan is constantly being showcased online. That kind of visibility is great. It allows for a ton of different perspectives on a phenomenal country. But with the rise of influencers and short-form content, things can sometimes get distorted, exaggerated, or just plain wrong. So in this episode, it's just Jen and me. We're chilling, and we're going to unpack how Japan's image has changed over the years, how social media fits into that, and talk through some of the most common myths and misunderstandings we've seen floating around online. So enough of me yapping. Let's go. Finally learning Japanese, but worried you'll end up just mumbling arigato or konnichiwa forever? Don't worry, NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com has you covered. Classes are led by Romy Sensei, a native Japanese speaker with over 20 years of teaching experience. She's been teaching online since before it was trendy. 2014, baby! Plus, her classes are super small, 6 people max, so you'll actually get to speak and get real feedback, not just sit there quietly wondering if you're butchering the word ramen. Romy Sensei's lived in New Orleans for over 15 years, and personal friends of mine have taken her classes. They seriously rave about how fun, clear, and downright awesome she is. Why keep telling yourself, I'll start learning next week in English, when you could just say it in Japanese and actually follow through with it at the same time? Check out NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com, that's lessons with an S, and get started today. Are you new to the crew? Yokoso! We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like architect Asby Brown breaking down Japanese homes and architecture, Japanese Academy Award-winning director Eiji Uchida unraveling the independent film scene in Japan, both in English-only and bilingual versions available, author Matt Alt uncovering the history of Nintendo, and so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the crew. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode.
And we are here today, Doug and I, of course, to do one of our casual chit chats for an episode. I always love these. I think I talked about that in our recap episode from last season. These are kind of just my favorites because they're so chill and not so high maintenance for us to get together. But Doug, I wanted to talk today about these misconceptions of Japan that's been going around on social media lately. I feel like some of these, I guess you could call it advice, is just,
Influencers?
Well, that's what they call themselves.
Well, I feel like a lot of people, yeah.
But
There's
it's just
good and bad, but yeah.
I mean, they're trying to be good about. I hope they're trying to bring something good about with it. But I feel like this advice that a bunch of them are giving is kind of like out of place. Like it's confusing and doesn't really give the full picture and meaning towards the culture of Japan.
Yeah, it's definitely something I feel like, I'll open up Instagram or TikTok and maybe Instagram more than TikTok. I don't really peruse TikTok too much. But yeah, you do come across some stuff and you're like, okay. Okay. There's things, and we're going to touch on examples a little bit later on. But,
Yeah.
that's still like, even though it's social media and TikTok and Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all that stuff, that's like what's interfaced now. But I feel like this type of conceptions of Japan, or even misconceptions of Japan, have been around for a long time, just through non-social media. And when I say non-social media, I mean like TV and movies and just other kinds of publications, books, manga, anime. I feel like ever since the 2000s, and even before then, obviously, Japan was popping up and all over the place. Maybe not as much,
Mhm.
though.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays it's coming up more often, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely understand that too. Just general media. Yeah.
Yeah. That boom really happened in I would say the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, and like with just the introduction. I don't even want to say introduction because anime has been around for a minute, but like more, I guess, more of the social relevance of anime getting a spotlight
Mhm.
on it. But then also they had a lot of movies like Lost in Translation, Last Samurai, Memoirs of a Geisha. You
Oh
know,
my gosh, now that you mentioned Memoirs of a Geisha, that actually reminds me of how disappointed I was when I first went to Kyoto. Because I watched Memoirs of a Geisha and was like, "Oh, these beautiful places are." There was one scene in particular. It was like they were on a rickshaw and they were like going through these alleys, and then all of a sudden, wham, they were like in Fushimi Inari. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool that like these two places are so close together." And then, like, you get there and it's like, "What the heck? Like, this is not a rickshaw ride length of distance to travel from one of those places to the next."
hey, there
I was
wasn't a Starbucks in this movie.
yeah, I was just like, "What?" Like, Fushimi is, like, really, really South Kyoto City. It's nowhere near all these other places that they're talking about. So, yeah, no,
Right. Yeah.
geography-wise, Memoirs of Geisha was horrendous.
Well, I feel like there's quite a few controversy. I don't want to say controversies that arose out of that. I mean, there's a lot of people were let down by that movie. Let's just put it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
We're
it's a
not
beautiful
here to
movie. I will
drag.
say
Yeah.
it's still one of my favorites to watch. I think it's beautiful, especially like the arts part, like where they're dancing and stuff like that. I love it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like me with, I mean, I'm probably going to get dragged by listeners on this, but like Last Samurai is like a guilty pleasure of mine. I just really,
Which is
you know, I,
another one that was filmed a little smidge of it was filmed in Kyoto.
yeah,
Yay.
I know a lot of people hate it. It's Tom Cruise, white savior type
Yeah,
movie, but I really like Ken Watanabe, and I really like the
I
actors
know.
that they had and all the stunts that they did and everything like that. I do like martial arts and sword stuff, so that was really
Yeah.
appealing to me. And I was a little disappointed when I went to Japan, and hey, it's not the Meiji era. What's going on here? Like, no. And then I think the other one is like Lost in Translation. Everyone kind of gets that whole like get lost in Shinjuku, get lost in Shibuya like idea and go and just do crazy stuff at a pachinko parlor, arcade, or all the
Yeah.
commercials and TV shows and all this stuff. Like
Yeah,
it
I don't
just
think I can even count on my hands how many times people have tried to talk to me about Lost in Translation. I'm just like, Get out of my face."
yeah. And I mean also it's there's a little cringe when you look back and say, hey, yeah, that relationship there between between Bill Murray's character and Scarlett Johansson's character is a little bit yikes. But yeah. So I mean,
For
I feel like,
sure.
media has been doing its part in helping people develop their idea of what Japan is and maybe setting an expectation and maybe misrepresenting what to expect. But
Yeah.
that's just where it kind of, I don't want to say kind of started. I mean, we can even go further back to Lafcadio Hearn writing his book,
Yeah.
Glimpses of an Unfamiliar Japan, or whatever. I think that was the title, right?
Well, and I feel like that's kind of what happened because, like, even for I'm sure you and myself and many others, especially our age, our generations, we probably started with our interests of learning about Japan, from media like movies, TV shows like anime, books.
Karate Kid Part 2.
Okay, sure.
That's when they went to Japan. So
Well,
that was
that's when they went
also
to Okinawa. Yeah.
as a kid, because that came out when I was really young. I think that was one of my first like real introductions to Japan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
as
I mean, it was a big deal when they decided to shoot in Japan. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just that's how people got those conceptions and ideas of Japan.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I remember, and I'm not sure how it worked for you, Doug, when you did your study abroad for your time at college. But for me, I studied abroad in 2010. So that early 2000s exposure. And I was still a nerd back then. So of course I went to Barnes and Nobles and went to the travel section and got myself a Lonely Planet book, which God knows if anyone knows in the younger generation what Lonely Planet is.
I have that, and I have the Foder's Foder. Fodor sounds like Hodor. I don't know what the pronunciation. GIF.
Yeah, I think
Ghibli Ghibli.
I bought so many books. I bought like a guidebook, I bought like a Japanese phrase book, I bought a Japanese dictionary. Like I bought so many books because I was like, I want to be as prepared as possible before I go to Japan. And one of the kind of rising things in my day, not sure about yours, because I know you studied
My
before
day,
me.
like, it was 5 years before you, but yeah. A
Okay, so
lot
maybe
happened in 5 years. A lot
yeah,
happened in that
5
5
years
years.
is a lot in technology. And so when I studied abroad, J-vlogging was becoming a thing. And I know we don't really use it anymore in the YouTube world. But back when I was studying abroad, everyone was labeled as a J-vlogger if you were a foreigner filming in Japan about Japan. J-vlogger.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, like, back in my day, back when Facebook was only available to college students, that's what it was when I first started in Japan, and then it gradually opened up. People posted pictures, and they kind of made posts and in little, like, journal entries on their statuses with the pictures and stuff. That was kind of a way of vlogging. I mean, they also had people had blogs like LiveJournal and MySpace and all that. I don't want to say retired media. It still exists out there. Like my
Yeah.
LiveJournal, I think, is still out there.
Yeah, and
My
my blog is still out
WordPress,
there, so
yeah, my WordPress is somewhere out there too. I don't know. I don't even remember what it's called. Yeah, I mean, those were kind of things like, people, the Lonely Planets acted as a guide, and people use
yeah.
those as a guide. But then I think those journals that people use to document their own trips ended up
Was very much more
becoming
personal.
is more personal, like more anecdotal, and that started becoming like those travel guides. That
Yeah, no,
started
for
becoming
sure.
the replacement for the Lonely Planets, because Lonely Planet, you go it's a book that you have to buy every year.
Yeah.
The addresses of the business might go out of business. The addresses, if you didn't have Google Maps on your phone, which 2005 they didn't have that. Even 2007 it was getting hard to do that. And eventually once iPhone kind of took over, it was a little different. But finding addresses with the Lonely Planet, I look at the address. I remember doing this multiple times when I was like trying to do hitchhiking back in 2006 and trying to go around Shikoku, which failed miserably. Trying to find places was so difficult because buildings aren't really labeled and there's hard to find street names if you can find them at all.
Yeah.
And you couldn't just plug it in a phone or a GPS. You had to use a map or print out a MapQuest map off the internet, which is insane to think about now. But that was the challenge. And then these anecdotes that would come up on these blogs, or not vlogs and blogs, they would kind of put a context around it. Maybe more additional pictures that you could look at and see, oh, this is the surroundings.
Or even like covering topics that like these travel guides wouldn't cover. So like I
Oh,
would
yeah.
have to go dig it up and find out, but I don't think Lonely Planet ever said anything about convenience stores.
Oh, probably. I mean, they probably mentioned it in
Maybe
passing
now in the
coverage.
updated versions, but I don't think back in 2010 they really saw it as like a, ooh, you should go visit this thing.
Is Lonely Planet still printing? They gotta be.
Yeah, they are.
They are? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked or bothered to look ever in probably a decade or 2.
Well,
So
the writer in me, still looks at that stuff. Yeah, no, in the old ones, that wasn't covered. Whereas, like, the rising J vloggers in this boom of YouTube that happened in around 2010 when I studied abroad, I mean, they covered all the minuscule things, but they made it seem so interesting and fun. I mean, I remember watching Gimme a Flake Man, which is now Gimme a Break Man, Rachel and June, Charla in Japan, abroad in Japan. He was around for a while back
still
then
is,
too.
right?
Still
Yeah.
is. Yeah, a
A
bunch
lot
of
of these
them
people
still
are.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of them still are. So yeah, I mean, like I was just watching all of them, and that's kind of where I got my ideas of like, okay, I should do this. I should see this. I should, try this experience. So yeah, that kind of became my guide, and then here we are years later, and now we're at this new generation of social media with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts now are becoming a thing where it's like they post these great ideas, and they just kind of want to, I don't know, kind of addy. It's very addy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, and I would say too, like I think just the evolution from even J vlogging or vlogging in general to shifting to reels, shorter reels, just attention
Yeah.
spans can't handle long form video anymore apparently. And I think a lot of people
Or
had
just
to
don't care.
adapt.
I don't know. Or maybe just don't even care about the details because, like, with J vlogging or just regular vlogging, whatever you want to call it, the people that made those videos and still do today, they're very informative, very informational.
Yeah.
And I guess people don't want that anymore. They just want get straight to the point. Let me know where it is, what to do. Okay, good. And that's kind of
That makes
sad.
sense. And I think too, like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts, they're trying to hit for a reason. They're just trying to hit what's hot and what's, like topical or maybe something that's gonna stand out. And they want to be quick hitters. They don't want to long form tell you a story. They just want to say, hey, look at this crazy thing I got out of a vending machine,
But I think that makes the difference between the J vloggers who've lived in Japan and been in Japan for years versus these random travel content creators that are just like, hey, I've been to Japan for like 3 days. This is my advice. And it's like, wait, you've only been to Japan for 3 days as a visitor. What makes you think you should be giving out advice to other people?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. That definitely a
It's
little
cringe.
suspect. Yeah,
It's
it's
cringe. It
suspect.
is
Yeah.
so cringe. And like they even, I don't know, just like top 10 things to do in Japan. Like I hate that stupid thing.
Yeah, and you know what I've noticed too is there are a lot of like post aggregators now. Okay, so on Twitter, X, whatever, they have like your sports news people, and then you have like
Mhm.
these news aggregators they do for sports, right? Where they like kind of collect all this news from all the different places, and they just post it as their own news, and they may or may not give credit to the source. But
Mhm.
then I mean they do that for regular news too. But that's just where literally the only reason I'm still on that godforsaken app is I get a lot of sports news from there. But I feel like there's a lot on Instagram, specifically Instagram, that kind of recycle other people's like reels and basically like kind of, I don't know, maybe they partner, I don't know, they tag them or however it works. But I feel like I see the same crap over and over and over at nauseum. And it's like, the whole script of the video starts out and it's some girl waving you to come along as she's skipping away to an arcade or Fushimi Inari or a shrine or a
Oh my
convenience
god.
store. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's that
Yeah,
that
no, I
thing, and then
do.
yeah, but it's like the same thing. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, maybe this is the same content creator, but no, it's different ones every time. It's just the same aggregator that's kind of like borrowing their content or using it. And I mean, it's beneficial to them because they're getting credit for it and people are seeing their stuff, expanding their reach. But yeah, you just do see a lot of the same like top 10 things to try at Lawson's or,
Yeah.
5 things to do in Tokyo. And a lot of it's the same thing.
And it's because people that are publishing that kind of stuff aren't people that are staying in Japan. They're there to visit for like a few days or a week. And then
Yeah.
they go back to either their home country or they go on their next country trip that they're supposed to be on. They're not really supplying anything, worthy of us like digesting, really.
Don't get me wrong. When I go visit, I post reels too. But I try to keep it different. I don't want to regurgitate the same type of thing. Like I try to show a little bit off the beaten path or, like when I travel a lot to Ibaraki and different areas that I don't normally see content for. And,
Yeah.
and then if I have an interesting reel, I'll post it or a picture, and usually pictures. I usually do a lot of pictures and I don't really do the real stuff too much. Except when we're announcing these episodes like this one right here. You probably saw a reel, hopefully, on your social media app that drove you here, unless you're just getting those subscriptions. Like and subscribe, smash that subscribe button or like button,
Okay, you.
smash it. I had a funny conversation with somebody about this the other day. Anyway, we're digressing.
Yes. You are digressing.
Yeah, but
Um,
but I feel like for sure, like these reels and these TikToks that a lot of people get ideas for trips from these videos.
yeah.
And I do think that also things get highlighted in those videos that do get a little, I guess, misconstruing, like, reality a little bit. Not always. And it's not always
Yeah.
intentional either.
Yeah, like they're delivering the message, but they're not giving the whole message.
Right, right, right. Well, now that we've kind of talked about like misconceptions and things being portrayed like that, why don't we just dive into a couple? I have more than a couple
Well, do you
probably,
have some
but
favorites that you want to share
well, I
and that
think
we could debunk for our listeners?
I think one that a lot of people try to highlight is like, oh my God, Japan is so weird, so zany, so crazy. Look at all these crazy things Japan has. And
Oh.
there are things you see, but it's just another country. That's where a lot of my debunking comes to. Like, it's just more of like, yeah, there's a cool, different flavored soda. I mean, but that's not what I think is weird. Like, there's other, I don't want to say X-rated, but there's things that people are like, oh my God, Japan's so wild. And then it's just, it's like, no, man, the US is just as freaking crazy. And I mean, Europe too. They got their wild side.
Yeah.
But again, it just people like to highlight that stuff because that's what people want to see
Yeah.
because it's kind of been the image that's been painted to them and kind of hammered into them over time by different avenues, different medium, So that's the biggest one that stands out to me. And I just like to say, like, yeah, they do have there are quirky things. There are things you don't see in other countries, but I wouldn't say that makes it weird. Just like someone coming to New Orleans and taking a picture and say, oh my God, look at this crazy king cake. It's got a baby in it, and it's it's just like it's a cake, and it's just a local tradition. So I think that's just one thing I like to think of.
Yeah.
Before I say my next one, I'll let you give one for your own, your own personal.
Ooh, what's my favorite? I think my favorite is you always hear like, oh, Japan is so healthy. Oh, you can eat so healthy in Japan. And like I kind of thought that way for like a split second back in the day, like when I first was going to Japan. But then like I started like really deep diving. I'm like, if you want to be healthy, you can, but like it's gonna be really hard to because you're gonna have so much good, unhealthy food shoved in your face the whole entire time. I think I eat so bad, both here at home and in Japan. I mean, if you're going to give me like, oh, a grilled fish with, a little bit of rice and miso soup, push that aside. I don't want that. Give me the salty ass bowl of ramen and I will eat that all the time.
I think a big part of like the healthy idea too comes down to portion size, right? Like we're used to portion sizes in the US here, especially New Orleans, where you get a very large helping of whatever you get when you go to you get a roast beef sandwich and it's overflowing with like roast beef and gravy, or like gumbo is a full ass bowl, or like you get very large portions where I feel like the portions that you receive in Japan, even if it's not the healthiest dish, like if it's katsudon, it's not like massive, and you could get it massive, but even the massive size is really not that big, like it's not like anything. I would, here, if you get a katsudon, I feel like you get this massive, you go to a Japanese restaurant here, you get a massive piece of tonkatsu or chicken katsu, whatever katsu you get, and a bunch of rice. And then you have other things too, which again, you do get little things, but they're tiny. So I think that's part of it. Like the image that you have of Japan as being a healthy country is just more of the portion size too.
Yeah.
Is much different than
Well,
what
and then
we're
like
used to.
I find it's very easy to snack in Japan.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like you can just go into a random like cafe because there's a lot of cafes and you could just purchase like a cake and a tea or a cake and a coffee. And those trips to a cafe add up. And I feel like it's so easy to just stop at one of those cafes or like just a little something. You have like taiyaki stands all over the place.
Yeah. I definitely see
I
the
fall
food
for that.
stall. Yeah, the food stall stuff for sure. I mean, at the cafes, you could do that here too. Technically, you can go to a coffee shop and
I
get a little
never do.
bagel. I know you
I
don't.
never
I'm just
do.
saying, but it's easy
They have
to
nothing
do.
of interest here for me.
But I will say, like cuisine, like food wise, if you're getting fish, like a grilled fish or like sushi or sashimi or something like that, it can be, it skews healthy because it's like fish, and it's
Yeah.
cooked and prepared properly. I don't know what the ingredients are all the time, but there are a ton of unhealthy dishes. Like you said, big ass bowls of ramen with just sodium pouring out the top. You got plenty of fried food everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like fried food, I didn't realize going to Japan how prevalent and how much fried food there was, and again, a lot of my misconceptions were formed early in the 2000s that I, saw in movies or anime or whatever. And you only see like ramen sometimes, but you also think of like, oh yeah, it's just like fish and rice, like you have these misconceptions you develop. But yeah, I think too now a lot of people kind of highlight a lot more of the unhealthy food in Japan. And you don't see the healthy stuff as much.
Definitely.
So I think it's kind of like a backwards trend now. Like
yeah,
Japan
now
is
it's becoming
an unhealthy country. But yeah, no, one of the other ones I see is Japan being so high tech
Oh my
and
god. And
robots
I
everywhere.
well, and I think the problem is the wording. The
Yeah.
word Japan is the issue. I say if content creators would just swap out the word Japan for Tokyo, I wouldn't have offense to that phrase.
And well, I mean,
And then
define
even then, it's like, okay, so replacing the word Japan with Tokyo. If Tokyo is so high tech, then why are people still standing in lines outside of restaurants when you could have like a QR code to do that? Or why are they still using like ticket machines to do ramen or, these low tech things that are still
well,
prevalent in the city?
no, I haven't worked in Japan in a long time. But the fact that they are just starting to, and I would say like the pandemic drove this, but allowing e-signatures on documents as opposed to having a physical hanko come in, those kind of things. I mean, the bank books, the banking system in general is just ATMs close at a certain time. Like you can't get money after a certain hour at a lot of banks, especially once you get outside of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Then fax machines, everyone jokes about fax machines, but it's real. Like, and again, I'm dating myself here because I was teaching in Japan for 3 years back at 2007, 2010, but there was still a heavy use of floppy disks. Like people listening to this, I mean, obviously if they're, in my age or older, your age even, which is a little
Yeah.
younger than me, know what a floppy disk is. But like, it's just so funny because like that's dead tech
Yeah, it
over
is.
here. Like if you showed someone a floppy disk, they're like, is that a coaster? Like, what is that? But it was still things being used. And I think it's just that there's like a slow adoption period or, this they're not quick to change is a culture. I feel like it's once you're set in stone, it's kind of hard to change, but,
Yeah.
I think that image of Japan being so high tech came from the 80s when they were leaders in technology and that just
Yeah.
kind of stuck around. Nowadays, I think you see a lot of videos of dancing like robots, like Robot Cafe.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like Pepper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that used to be on everyone's feed. Now it's just like robot cafes.
Gundam.
Yeah, the Gundams that
Hmm.
they have. I think Osaka just got one.
Yeah, for the expo, I believe they were bringing it over
Yeah.
there. Or relocated the one I don't know if they relocated or
I
created a new
can't
one. I
keep
don't remember.
track. I forget if there's 2 or 3 of them now, but yeah, one of them's in Osaka now. But yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't say Japan is high tech. I think they are quirky in their tech right now. They're in the quirky phase of technology, not really beneficial, I would say,
Well,
to society in some senses.
I think there's a lot of advances in technology that are there, but it's more for
Mm,
entertainment. It's like entertainment
mm.
technology, but
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
day-to-day life
Yeah.
adopting change technology. I think that
Yeah.
there is a bit of a lag.
Yeah, for sure. For
So what
sure.
is your what is another one for you? Another misconception that you've seen?
Oh gosh. I would have to say that one of mine is probably that you have to know Japanese in order to go to
Oh,
Japan.
okay. Yeah.
I feel like if you're just visiting, definitely don't have to. Even if you're
Yeah.
living there, technically you don't have to. I mean, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, it
You're
doesn't
going to be
hurt
miserable, but
to try. It doesn't hurt.
yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. And of course, like I believe any visitor should try to learn some kind of Japanese. Doesn't have to be sentences. Just pick a phrase book and start memorizing a phrase or two. But I mean, you don't have to know Japanese. I remember when I studied abroad when my Japanese was very little and I used a lot of hand motions, a lot of charades, a lot of
Yeah.
pointing. And I feel like that made me get by.
Well, I think too, also it depends on where in Japan you are. Like if you're in
Mm,
Tokyo or Osaka or Kyoto where they have heavy English speaking tourist traffic or non-Japanese tourist traffic, then there's options available to you to get around learning the language in a lot of places.
yeah.
Now, if you venture out to the countryside or even just non-big city places, it may be a
Or
little bit
even
more
like
difficult.
official places. So like say you have a toothache and then you need to go to a dentist while in Japan.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an adventure for you if you don't
Yeah.
know Japanese. I mean,
But you don't need to because you could
you
probably
don't
find,
need to.
especially if you're in a city, you could probably Google English speaking dentist in X.
But even if you don't do that and you go to a random dentist, in Japan and you don't know Japanese and they don't know English, most likely what's going to happen is one of two things. Either you're just going to go, let them do what they got to do and just nod your head and agree with everything they say, even though you don't know what they're saying. Or that doctor is going to pull out a phone or some kind of device and y'all going to use that to, talk to each other. Because that's what happened. I had to do that for one of my students. I took her
Oh,
to an
wow.
eye doctor in Japan, and obviously, I don't know medical terminology in Japanese. And this doctor knew a little bit of English, but to get that technical stuff out, she couldn't really help with that. So she had like a gadget, and her and I were communicating through this gadget that she had for the student to be diagnosed and get medicine and stuff like that. So, yeah, those are the two options that's most likely going to happen if you don't know Japanese.
I thought you were going to say, they're just going to say, sorry, no English, and then tell you to go away.
I
Which is
haven't.
also something that happens. Maybe not doctors and
I
stuff,
don't know
but
about doctors. That's never
restaurants.
happened to me for a doctor. I've had that happen at a pet store.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely happened at a pet store, and my husband did not enjoy that experience.
Yeah. And I've seen things pop up on social media where they're pointing at restaurants that kind of shoo away,
Oh, yeah,
tourists and stuff like that, or
restaurants.
use
Yeah, yeah.
the language reason as a means to like say no foreigners.
I've never been to a restaurant though that did that.
I
I've
mean,
I've I've never
I don't think I have either,
I've never
but
experienced that yet.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
it seems like more of a more recent phenomenon after the Olympics and just pandemic reopening and whatnot. So I don't know, but no, I think it's definitely the fact that you can go, and if you're just going to visit for a week in Tokyo or Osaka or Kyoto or all three.
Or even honestly, I know we're saying it, but like even if you do decide to go to the countryside or stop at a random train station to explore that area, I mean, with phones nowadays,
Yeah, Google Lens
it
and
doesn't
all those
matter.
translation apps and stuff, they're really good.
Me personally, I thought pulling out your phone and doing translations was rude, but like I see Japanese people doing it to foreigners.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh,
that
yeah.
makes me think it's okay for foreigners to do it to Japanese people in that sense. So I don't know. I don't know. That it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
So to kind of talk about that one, because we've kind of, we're talking about travel a little bit there,
Mhm.
but I think these are kind of a twofold one. It's
Oh,
like a lot of social media posts, they show a lot of like, everywhere you go is all lit up like Akihabara and Golden Guy and Shibuya Scramble.
oh
Or
my
like maybe
god.
Kyoto or Osaka. Oh my God, look at this city. And then everything else is just nature or Fuji. Like there's no in between. Like there's, at least from the reels that I see, and we follow a few on, or they get suggested to us a lot on Instagram anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what it seems like. It seems like very much like bright lights and flashy, flashy shops and stuff like that, or
Mhm.
like hustle bustle of a big city, or look at this serene, beautiful nature,
Yeah,
and
the rice fields
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever.
and I feel like that's what they're getting a portrayal of, right? Like that's what's being portrayed to people who are looking at these reels, ingesting them. But there's just so much, like, just go to town A, town B, and there's so much to see that gets kind of left out a lot of those places. Like, and again, if you go off the beaten track, you don't even have to go to countryside. You can go to just a small town, and there's so much you can do that a lot of these don't show. And
Yeah.
I think that's just a misconception. Everyone just kind of thinks of like Tokyo when they think of Japan. It's not like
Yeah.
thinking of Japan, they think of Tokyo or maybe Mount Fuji or maybe the Lawson in front of Mount Fuji.
But that's what I'm talking about. That whole just replace one word with Tokyo. So instead of Japan, Tokyo. I feel like
Yeah.
people advertise things just as a general Japan, but you really need to be specific, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
This kind of adds up to another misconception. Do you remember those videos of like foreigners leaving their wallets on tables and like going to the bathroom? And like while they're in the
Oh,
bathroom, they record to see if anyone would
yeah.
steal their wallet, and then they would come back
Yes.
and their wallet would still be there.
Yes. I've seen that. I've seen a few versions of that. Yeah.
Yes, so
Yeah.
have I. So this is one of the misconceptions that Japan is safe because nothing will get stolen from you. And I admit you won't get a lot of things stolen. One of my students lost his passport. He got his passport back immediately on the same day. My husband left his Nintendo 3DS at a restaurant. He got it back the same day. But one of the things that will get stolen, umbrellas.
Yeah.
Which I've had done before. I remember it was in 2010. I was studying abroad. I bought the stupid clear umbrellas from the Combini because I didn't have one yet.
That's
And
just the communal understanding.
it is. I think so. So here is my understanding, or like not understanding because it's not. I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like if everyone owns one of these, which almost everyone does own a clear umbrella, then it is up for grabs. It is free game. And so I feel like that is the case because I've had one of those clear umbrellas stolen from me before. But when I actually had like a personal small umbrella and I left it outside, no one touched it because it was unique and it wasn't the same as everyone else's. So I will say, maybe not like trust me, Japan is safe. But the umbrellas that an average tourist is going to buy for a rainy day, it will get stolen.
Yeah. If you put it in one of those little boxes outside
that's
of
what
a
I did. Oh my God, that's what I
store
did.
or supermarket or restaurant, it may or may not be gone by the time you get back.
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, and I mean, there is crime. I saw a report that it's on the rise, but I mean,
If
come
you
on.
watch Japan's local news, you're gonna see random crimes, but nothing on the scale of America, where it's like an
Yeah.
everyday occurrence, an every hour occurrence.
Yeah. And I mean, again, if you do accidentally leave your stuff, like again, a friend of mine left his headset at a restaurant and then went back the next day and it was there. They had it, they held on to it. And they, it's just one of those things that you can. And, one thing about these videos, and I think that there's kind of a shift in a lot of these videos. And we have a few other ones we're going to talk about, but I think there were misconceptions at some point, and then now content creators are trying to recalibrate and like shift it to show like, oh, well, this was a misconception, but now like this is actually, I feel like people are showing more of the off the beaten path stuff and broadening their horizons outside of Japan. And I don't know if that's because they want to and they feel they need to, or if they feel like, hey, we got to differentiate ourselves from all the other gunk out there about just Tokyo this, Tokyo that, blah, blah, blah.
I want content creators to do that. I want these random ass travel people who have only been to Japan this first time. I want them to go out and spread the goodness of Japan, because to just stay in Tokyo, I feel, is a crime.
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like it's changing because I have seen people highlighting some things like for example, and maybe not so much now, but like people used to say, oh, Japan's so expensive. It's hard to travel there. And I feel like it's
oh my
people
God, Japan
showing,
is not expensive at all.
right. But I feel like there's a lot of videos out there that show, hey, look, I'm on a trip to Japan. Like, here's my budget for the day. And they show like how they, and some of them maybe just be like, I'm eating an onigiri for breakfast and I'm eating only an onigiri for lunch. And then my dinner, guess what? Onigiri. And I only spent 500 yen today. That's like, those are silly videos, but like you can legitimately, and I think a lot of like food people do this, food content creators for Japan videos and stuff. They show like, if you go to lunch, you may only have to spend the American dollar equivalent of $6 to $7 on a lunch, as opposed to if you go to lunch in the US, 12 to 15, depending on the city. I mean, that's the low end.
Sure.
If you go to New York or a big city where it's a little higher cost of living, it might be 20,
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. Over the years when I've worked and studied abroad, I noticed one of the top things students talk to me about and I need to educate them on is they come in and say, oh, but Japan is so expensive. How am I going to afford it? I'm like, listen, it's not as expensive as you think it is. I don't know where you're getting this information.
I think the airfare is really the biggest barrier. And right now, airfare anywhere is really expensive, not just Japan.
Yeah, for sure. But the physically being in Japan, not expensive at all.
No. Once you're there, and even like hotels and stuff, and right now the exchange rate's so good for the dollar.
It is.
I don't know how much longer that's going to hold up, but
even if it doesn't Even if the exchange rate doesn't stay that way and it equals out to like 600 yen to $6, that's still really good,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Because one of my watering holes in Kyoto, the ramen is 600 yen,
Yeah.
which is
You
amazing.
That's like $4. $4
When
for a bowl of ramen.
Exactly. And like I look at New Orleans and like the cheapest ramen I can get is maybe $14. Why?
It's not even good.
No, it's not even good. And you're making me spend 14 Sorry guys, I'm getting on a rant. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother rant.
No, you're good. You're good. But I feel like there is an emphasis on kind of changing the perception. Like I think people are somewhat cognizant of the idea that okay, Japan's been represented one way for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I think people are trying to, and I say people, but like people who have a audience base are whether it's big or small, they're trying to change that narrative, change that perception, and maybe undo some of these misconceptions we've been talking about. So, that's one thing I have noticed over the last couple years, especially once they opened borders back open to foreigners traveling over there. Obviously, a lot of people wanted to get back into Japan, plus the exchange
Yeah.
rate so favorable for a lot of countries. And there's just that demand for like Japanese related content,
There
present
is.
company not excluded, right? Like everyone wants to listen to us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I hope for is that the new content creators who are coming in with little experience, I have to emphasize that, with little experience about Japan. Like, literally, they think traveling Japan's a good idea. Let me do it, create some content. Okay, on to the next country. Those kind of creators, I really, really want them to like watch a few J vloggers who are still in existence, take some notes, and then condense that into their own content.
Yeah.
I want the broader Japan. I don't want this keen focus on these things that we've been talking about, these misconceptions. And I just, yeah, I want Japan content to be truthful and diverse. Is that so wrong to ask for?
No, and again, it's just I think it's just also the medium of and it's not exclusive to it, but like I feel like with the shorter form content that you see on those social media apps, it's very easy to just go and make a quick video of something that's going to get likes or like, reshares or whatever
Yeah, which is all the
versus
quirky
something that
stuff.
is and I listen to the occasionally listen to the Abroad in Japan podcast, and I hear him talk about how he wants to do these documentaries and how he wants to do these like really unique things, but then those really niche topics don't do well with the YouTube algorithm. And obviously he uses that as a monetization of YouTube videos is how Chris Broad makes his money. Well, not all of
Yeah.
it, but a good chunk of it. And so you have to sometimes lean into those quick hitter, easy, low lift, low effort things, unfortunately. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
necessarily for him, but like just in order to get the return on your time investment on making the video, it's almost
Yeah.
like you have to put that kind of content out there, which is unfortunate. And that's more of a commentary on the algorithm thing than really the,
Yeah.
and
Than
content
him.
creators trying to, especially ones who make money off of this
For
and use that
sure.
as their primary source of income. You kind of have to play that game, and it's unfortunate. And then like the representation of places, it's not exclusive to Japan, but obviously Japan's a big part out there, especially for us since we're in that space so much. But we see it, but it seems like it's going away in terms of like it's not just always the same shit anymore. Excuse my language. Same thing anymore.
We're both very passionate about this topic.
Yeah, it does seem to be expanding out there and other things getting exposure where they, and also I think a lot of it, we're talking about like adoption of like media. I think a lot of towns in Japan have finally embraced using and leveraging social media as their way to advertise their city and like their town and what they have to offer.
Yeah, which is kind of what I recommend to our listeners. Follow the cities, the prefectures on Instagram. They have great content. They have great pictures. They have great ideas to share with you. I say go that route.
Yeah, especially the
Personally.
tourism bureaus in those prefectures. Like I
Mhm.
know for sure with Fukushima, they have a really good like rediscover Fukushima as their Instagram, and Matsue too. We obviously we work closely with Matsue on the exchange program and just the podcast. We had Nick on So if you really want to learn more, and you find out so many little hidden gems in these places because of those social media feeds. So if you were looking for something to expand your horizons on Japanese travel and how to discover things that are not just these cookie cutter content, as for lack of a better term, that may or may not accurately represent what, Japan has to offer, then, I highly recommend checking out, like Jen said, the cities, the local government's tourism accounts.
Their social media, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that exhausts our conversation for this. I'm sure we could talk about it some more,
For sure. But yeah.
we should let our listeners breathe after hearing our passionate arguments about this. Yeah, thanks for talking about it with me, Doug. You and I like I said, I like doing these small
No, it's fun. It's fun.
conversations.
Like you said too in the recap for season 5. Like we're trying to do these a little bit more often. And obviously we love our guests and our interviews and conversations with them, but these are fun too, to be able to sit
Fun
back and
and
just kind of
easy.
sit
It's
back
literally
and
like
chat.
hey, what are you doing on a Thursday afternoon? Or what are
You
you
literally
doing?
texted me this about 24 hours ago and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I said, "I like it. Let's do it."
Yes, sir.
And here we are. So
That's exactly what I did.
all right. Well, that was fun. So let's we'll call it quits and just cut to the outro. Oh, it's breaking the fourth wall there. But yeah, listener, we're just gonna end it there. Thanks for listening. And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Crew of Japan podcast. Social media has definitely opened up more ways for people to engage with Japan. But as we've seen, it can also shape some pretty misleading ideas if we're not careful. Whether it's romanticizing daily life, oversimplifying culture, or turning stereotypes into clickbait, it's important to take what we see online with a grain of salt and dig a little deeper whenever we can. And we hope that this conversation gave you some helpful context and maybe a new way of thinking about the content you scroll past every day. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Smash that subscribe button, leave a 5-star rating, and drop a review on your favorite podcast streaming app. Every single one of those 5-star ratings and reviews helps others interested in Japan and this kind of content find the podcast. Am I doing the social media influencer voice right? I don't know. But hey, maybe just let a friend know about us. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. What was your perception of this episode? Let us know on social media. Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Threads. You name it, we're there probably. Maybe not active, but we're there. Just search for Crew of Japan Podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, upcoming Japan Society events like Kanpai on the Bayou, and Japan-related content. No clickbait, we swear. Well, we'll try not to. Anyway, that's Crew of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN. Or maybe you want to reach out to us directly. Send us an email at crewofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. But that's it for today. Until next time. Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Crew of Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Crew of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.